Today it's time for another offseason in the Pittsburgh Steelers franchise rebuild. We've spent 6 years in this series and have only made the postseason once and have failed to win a playoff game. We've added some excellent star players at a variety of spots, and I really do like much of this roster. But the results have not been there, and we just had a 5-win season. I have some goals in mind today, as we are going to pick number 2 in the NFL draft, and after trading away a fair bit of veterans at the trade deadline, we own multiple picks in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th rounds. Steelers great TJ Watt has retired. Unfortunately, we have to now replace him, and we've missed the chance to ensure he's part of a great Pittsburgh Steelers team. The goal this season was to get the run game going, and we did that as good as we ever have in this series. But the 0-4 start under Marquis McLeod led to me making a quarterback change for Mason Goddard that didn't really prove to be all that successful. I was thinking of Goddard maybe as a future starter, but after seeing him start 11 games, winning only 4 of them, he's still just a backup quarterback. I've talked about ending this chapter with Marquis McLeod, as we have not had the success with him that we've been looking for. We've talked about all the sacks that have been taken, which ultimately we still ended up taking a ton of them again this season, over 60. I learned about the coaching abilities this year and how those can lead to additional sacks, and I found that out after, kind of benching Marquis McLeod and moving on. I gave him 1 start there at the very end that did go well. I think right now I'm still thinking I'm ready to move on from McLeod, but I do need a quarterback to play for this team next year, and that I think is the greatest challenge. We are entering a weak quarterback class, and I don't know that there are a lot of great options that we could realistically obtain in free agency. I do intend to franchise tag Marquis McLeod today, but really, I can only trade him if I find someone who can start for this team next year. I do not think we can go into the year with Mason Goddard as our QB1. I read the feedback on the last episode, and it seemed a lot of you are kind of thinking the same thing about maybe franchise tagging Marquis McLeod, but if there isn't a better option out there, we could bring him back and see if an improved roster and now a more established running game changes anything. And of course, now that I know that the coaching abilities were hurting the offense in a lot of ways, maybe that's something that could get us some progress next year. It was very easy in week 5 as we started 0-4 to say, it's time to end this era. We're going to trade him in the offseason. But I do need to make sure I have someone starting at quarterback that I believe we can win with next year. So that's just the only issue right now. I feel ready to move on, but what do we do? Because I don't think we found Mason Goddard to be an answer for us. I think that we all hoped that Joe Book would become available in the offseason, and maybe that would be an option for us. But the Saints signed him, and they did so to a ridiculously low contract. They did it early in the season. He's basically on a second rookie deal where he's making under $7 million a year, and he led them to the NFC Championship game. Now, behind Joe Book, the Saints do have Tyron Ridley. Do we have any interest in maybe trading for a quarterback who was taken high in the last couple years? Because Ridley has 2 years of team control there before he hits free agency. I was looking at, the skill set for him, and I'm not sure it's, perfectly ideal. I think I want a little more mobility and escapability. I think it just plays so much better in this game. But Ridley is definitely a pocket passer. He's a strong arm quarterback, and I think there are a couple traits in here that I do kind of worry about with the look for stars. I'm just not sure that's a great one to have. I've talked about eyes up kind of being a problem trait as well, and I've just kind of taken that off a bunch of players because I think it's kind of bugged in this game. It's very easy to move off of a quarterback when you could just go and draft your next one, but we're probably in a situation where if I trade McLeod, I still have to trade for another quarterback. So we'll see what this offseason brings. I am going to franchise tag Marquis McLeod, and we're going to explore our options. We'll see if Josh Allen hits free agency. I'm not sure how likely we'd be to sign him. I mean, I know we'll have the cap space to make that possible, but the Bills could also just tag him here in just a moment, so we don't know. I've also been open to making some changes with our defensive scheme. We've ran this 3-4 the entire time. We switched to the Todd Bowles playbook, which I'm not sure we really need to run going forward. That's a more aggressive, blitz-heavy defense. And I just don't think that this team needs to be blitzing a lot with the front four that we've assembled. And with the number 2 pick in this upcoming draft, there are some elite edge rushers we'll have access to draft, so it could get even stronger. But I'm open to a base 4-3 switch, which will give us an 86% scheme fit percentage. And I'm kind of intrigued in this Mike McDaniel defense, not the Mike McDaniel offense, because it's a little more hybrid. It has some 4-3, it has some 3-4, it even has some 4-4. And I'm interested in exploring this one. Given our personnel, I think that this could be a really good fit for us. So we'll see what this offseason brings. I'm excited to get into it. I spent some time going through the draft information that I have currently, and I have over 60 players on my board. There are some late round players I want to share with you guys that we could look to target. And right now we're going to get into some upgrading. I'm actually going to go a little bit off the board here in power for Sean Mickens, getting stiff arm, break tackle, and carrying. This season was a really big breakout for him, and it's looking like he's going to be the best running back we've had in this series, and this last season was by far the most impressive. So regardless of who's at quarterback next year, you know, we're going to have a run game that should make their job a little bit easier. We're going to upgrade Andrew McElroy, again with speed rusher, getting some finesse move upgrades in there. Still an X factor at 25 years old. I know somebody in the comments wanted to see his snap counts this year, and yeah, playing 535 downs, but getting the production he did, this would put him on an elite pace, because with 500 or so snaps, that's like 50 to 60% of the total downs. He could be out there a lot more, and he's going to have to be. All right, franchise tags have been applied. The Lions used it on their running back, Joe Delgado. And Josh Allen is going to enter free agency. Does that mean they didn't tag him? As a matter of fact, the Bills have tagged Chris Ortiz instead. I can't believe how many teams are actually using the tag. Shout out to Arizona and a few other teams for tagging their long snappers. But almost every team is finding someone to tag. I think this is a flaw, considering I know Adrian Hall should not be getting the tag. I am familiar with Adrian Hall's game. He has 99 speed, and he just had a 0-catch season. And now it's our turn to tag Marquis McLeod for $77 million. We're going to pick up the 5th-year option on linebacker Chris Leonard, but after missing so much time these last 2 years, I think we have to prioritize getting some depth at inside linebacker. We have signed Felix Morant to a 2-year, $10 million contract. I wanted to just keep our running game intact, and I liked a lot of what I saw from him this year. And I'm looking to also give a 2-year deal to Mason Goddard. He's looking for 2 years, close to $9 million. That's fair, and he is a good backup to have. Just not a guy you want starting 11 games. So in this scenario where we've tagged Marquis McLeod, we don't have a lot of cap space to do more right now, which would mean, you know, we lose like Spencer Brown and we have to fill that right tackle. We might have to go find a kicker because paying one $7 million a year is probably stretching our budget too thin. I'd love to bring Harold Fannin back. I don't think we're going to find an agreement here, but we'll come back to him later. We're going to see Nick Johnson hit free agency, and man, it feels to me like he's one that got away a little bit in this series. I was just so excited early on by what we saw from him early in his career in that first preseason, but it really has only been downhill since then. If I was to make it work with a 7th-round running back, I really thought he was going to be the guy to do it. So this is reality if we wanted to keep Marquis McLeod for one more year on the tag and see how it goes. We only have $25 million unless I restructure to fill in some starting cornerback spots, some important depth spots like with Harold Fannin, plus we don't have a right tackle right now. So let's move on then to the free agency stage where we also have the combine and a lot of things to talk about there. So when it comes to the quarterback class, it's just not strong at all. No one's projected to go in the first round. I have a couple guys here favorited that I think are backup only, developmental players. Here's Reggie Ballard from Vanderbilt, a strong arm quarterback, very much a pocket passer who has some really good accuracies and throw under pressure. So I'm always finding intriguing players there that could develop, but in terms of future starters or even immediate starters, options don't look great. Callum Fitzsimmons has some intriguing skills here even. Here's my favorite board. I have 66 players on it. The entire year, Niles Cone has been the mocked #1 player, which means we could get Mac Ridgway, who is a top 5 talent, 21-year-old pass rusher from USC. And if he's there with this skill set, the chance to take him, I think it'd be very tough to pass. This is a really strong tackle class at the top, and it looks like we're going to have to figure out what we're doing there. I have 5 first-round prospects right now favorited on my board. I've been looking for impact corners, and the top of this draft at least has some really intriguing players like Calvin Hitchens from Michigan. But the only way I can see us getting him is if we trade McLeod and end up making multiple first-round picks. There are a couple UDFAs who have day 2 talent grades, so that at least shows some promise there. Antonio Beekman ran a 4.43. He's 5'10", 23 years old. So it might not be the easiest cornerback there to develop, but should have a good starting overall. And then you've got Zay Winslow, the number 328th ranked player. Also looks like a pretty good value. Eric Goodman from Michigan, 23-year-old linebacker, could be drafted maybe in the middle of this draft, but we need some linebacker depth, and specifically guys who have cover skill, and he has entire 3-down ability. I think a day 1 starter. It's always fun when I find these projected UDFA players. I feel justified in having all these late picks. Rob Driscoll from East Carolina, just 21 years old, good athlete. Never trust these coverage grades here at outside linebacker, but the athleticism, tackling, play rec are all in a really good spot. And if you could get him on day 3 sometime, that's a bargain. Oh man, I forgot about Manny Dobbs, 348 pounds. I mean, defensive tackle is already the strongest position group on the team, but Dobbs, elite strength, 40 reps on the bench press. He could probably go more. He was probably just bored at 40 reps. But good power moves. Finesse moves at C block shed. And then I got some UDFA projected guards. Matt McConnell from Wisconsin. Why would this guy not be a day 1 starter? First of all, he destroyed the combine. 38 reps, sub 5 second 40. And just dominant in the power game. Matt McConnell, another potential steal. I have a couple guards here favorited. I have him over Damian Sullivan, whose combine, wasn't nearly as freaky. It's still good. So I think we have a chance at a really fun offseason today, but we have to figure out this quarterback situation. Josh Allen is the big free agent this year. 4 teams have already offered. Did Baker Mayfield become available? He did, at 81 overall. So if you're looking for free agent pickups, those are your 2 choices, really. Could Baker be solid for 1 more year? Maybe. Are you willing to take the downgrade? Because he is the 31st ranked quarterback, coming off a step back season for him. But I think we have to put an offer in there for Josh Allen. But can we while McLeod is tagged? I don't have the cap room to make the offer, is the big problem here. Suddenly the Bills want to make us the huge offer for Marquis McLeod. Man, do I just go for it? Like, Baker Mayfield could be a fallback if I fail to add Josh Allen. And I actually think Mayfield, just from a skill set standpoint, man, would really fit. His accuracies have fallen off a lot, but he's still got his mobility. This double back trade, I think, is really interesting. I think we saw that on display a couple times this last year. So if Mayfield had to step in for 1 year, maybe it could work. Now that I look at this again, they're offering us future first-round picks, one next year and one the following. One thing I want to point out here is if we trade Marquis McLeod, we're not getting $77 million back in cap space. Our cap would go up by about 38. The dilemma here is if we trade Marquis McLeod, we have $63 million in cap space, which is like around enough to pursue Josh Allen, who's looking for 62.4. But he doesn't have like the big interest in our team, and maybe there's a team out there who actually does. And I just don't know if trying to go into the season with, a bunch of extra players and then Baker Mayfield gets us what we want after seeing what Goddard was doing last year with similar, little bit lower ratings. I don't think I can get behind the idea of restructuring everything to chase Josh Allen, to still have other holes to fill, and maybe have him for a year. That would also require us to make that cap space available before even being able to offer to him, which means we have to take on risk that we realize even if he doesn't come here. And if Mayfield, who just regressed further now in his mid-30s, took a step back on an offense with Bucky Irving, Emeka Egbuka, a really good receiving core, Tristan Wirfs at tackle, you've got Graham Barton at center. Like, I don't think Mayfield gives us a better chance to make a deep run than with McLeod. Do we just have to run it back and address this later on? I know I've taken y'all on a roller coaster ride here in this series. I wanted to, stick to what I was talking about and be consistent. I just have to think about what do I think will actually work going into next year. This is easily the most dysfunctional, fireable job I've ever done in a franchise. What do you mean the Patriots signed Josh Allen when they have Drake May? How'd they even have the cap space? What is going on here? They somehow have $18 million in space, it says. How did you make this work? When I ran through the trade finder, I had McLeod on there, and I was looking at every other team's cap space if they traded for him. I guess, the cap hit on McLeod is higher than 62.4. Like, tagging a quarterback just does not make sense financially. We do have the ability here in the transaction log to undo signings. I think in this case I will. And we'll see if a different team that makes more sense can make a run at Josh Allen. Brandon Ayuk just retired in here suddenly during free agency. All right. There's a big late retirement. George Kittle retired during the beginning of the offseason, so change there in San Francisco. Did they do it again? Is there like no way around this? Yeah, I guess there's no way around him going to New England. I've canceled it out a few times. I suppose I could do it again and force him to sign before preseason somewhere. And in that case, I think someone will beat me to it, but I wouldn't allow myself to sign Josh Allen. I think we'll just cancel it out because it's just, ridiculous when they have Drake May, who they view as a franchise quarterback in the second year of a 6-year deal. I ultimately had to take it pretty easy here in free agency, but did make a couple signings. We're going to add a new right tackle in DJ Glaze, as we're going to pay him about $6 million, so a little bit lower rated than Spencer Brown. Obviously a huge temporary boost that's going to go away, so his run block power is truly an 85, his awareness is an 81, but a guy who can handle power, who can step in to start at right tackle. And then wide receiver Nick Martinez is going to sign a 2-year deal, and he has slot receiver skills, but he's pretty well-rounded and can be one of our top 3 receivers while we also develop Justin Guerrero. Martinez was pretty productive last year in Chicago, 684 yards, played a lot of snaps, and he was originally I think, 4th round pick. Yeah, late 4th. So after all that quarterback talk, it's time for us to talk draft now and get this team set up, and it looks like Marquis McLeod is our quarterback ultimately next season. We still have some holes on this team. Not gonna lie. I tried to sign a cornerback and failed. We need tight end depth. We have an offensive line at least. And I might have to look at trading away some of our depth even to figure out some starting spots for the new year. I would actually be open to trading Derek Harmon, but now is not the time, considering that his signing bonus just eats up so much money. We'd have a lot of dead cap if we traded him. So it wouldn't actually open up a ton of space, at least this year. But basically, I need 2 starting cornerbacks. I might have to roll into this year with Zach Anderson at safety. I mean, I've handed out some big contracts in this franchise tag as opposed to maybe a $55 million a year deal is pushing us to our limits. So, moving on to the draft now. We have the number 2 selection. And mock draft 5 now has Mac Ridgway going number 1 for the very first time. So we might not end up with a guaranteed top 5 talent. I'm going to make sure I do a private workout on Niles Cohn so we know what his talent grade ends up being. But as of right now, we pick number 2 and we're only sure of 1 player being a top 5 talent. And we've made it at last to the 2031 NFL Draft. I thought we'd have that guaranteed top 5 talent at edge, but the Broncos are going to get us started, and here is their pick. It's Mac Ridgway. I knew that was too good to be true. So they're going to take advantage of what is a really good top edge class here. The top 4 players were all edge rushers. Ridgway is headed to Denver. And now we have a glaring hole in having to replace TJ Watt. I did finish the scouting here on Niles Cohn. So the other edge rushers have round 1 talent or round 1 to 2 in the case of Isaiah Faulkner. I'm guessing then that Victor Miranda is one of the top 5 talents. Maybe Jay Reed? I got the talent grade here on Eric Goodman, the linebacker I spoke about earlier. Round 1 to 2 talent on him. And then I was curious about the undrafted guard, Matt McConnell, who has round 1 talent for sure. So, what do we want to do at 2? We are going to trade down 1 spot. And we're going to pick up a 2nd round pick that is 2 drafts from now. So, it's not going to help us here in the near future. We're going to gain a 6th round pick next year and the year after, but we're only falling 1 spot. Not bad. The New York Giants have moved up, and they are selecting edge rusher Madison Bonham. So it's edge rushers, the first 2 picks. Bonham wasn't on my radar here. And these trade downs now want me to fall way too far. Time for number 3. With the 3rd pick in the 2031 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Calvin Hitchens, cornerback from Michigan. We are making the big secondary addition that I've been looking for. Hitchens has guaranteed round 1 talent, and man, the draft profile on him was outstanding. I think although he's a round 1 player, yeah, single digits in terms of true value. He's, a slight overdraft if you want to, say that. And Hitchens has hidden development on top of being 6 foot, 181, 92 speed, 92 acceleration. He's dominant in man coverage. He's got physicality in his game. He literally does it all. You got to worry a little bit about the injuries, which we haven't really seen be a big factor in terms of the secondary players getting hurt. But he is a dynamic cornerback, and I really wanted to add one. So admittingly, this is not how I saw today going, especially, a few episodes ago. I thought that I'd be trading away Marquis McLeod for sure, but I thought things could get really messy if I traded him and didn't have a good plan at the position. And like a 1-year fix with like Josh Allen, although it would have been tempting, what it would have taken to get that done, I just wasn't willing to do it. We'll see what this next quarterback class shows, and maybe now we'll get another year of Marquis McLeod where the quarterback abilities, we're not using the ones that are hurting the pressure, how they sense pressure. We can make amends with Marquis McLeod, who still has interest in being here somehow. I would have wanted out ages ago. And we're now on the clock at 34. Gabe Amaya I liked a lot. Some good safeties in this class, but I think now we can look in a different direction. This next pick is going to be a risky one just because of the injury concerns, and he's already 23 years old. But Josh Phelps, I think, can step in and start on the edge for us right away as a power rusher. A, power moves, B, tackling, and the combine for him was really good. High strength, really athletic, good burst, great acceleration. So we're going to select Josh Phelps as the TJ Watt replacement. Without taking an edge rusher here, we'd have to probably look at just like a veteran. And given we're spending big money on Roderick Barber, I'd like to have someone on a good rookie deal to kind of balance things out salary-wise. So Phelps is 27th in true value. Former high school power forward, and hidden development. So if we're going to take a risk, at least it's on a high upside player. Excited about the start here for our defense. And we're certainly not done adding to this defense. We're going to do it again with Eric Goodman. Another 23-year-old rookie, but just a rock-solid scouting report here. He's elite speed. Great in all areas. I mean, he can stop the run, cover, has power moves as a B grade, A catching. We're going to take high upside defensive players here. We're trying to improve the pass defense. We ranked really good in terms of rushing yards allowed, but I knew I wanted to make a big investment at cornerback. Got to keep that pass rush top tier. And then we need more talent at linebacker, especially with the injury concerns that we've seen from Chris Leonard. So 50th in true value. And we take him at 66. Just normal development. But I think his skills will be in the right area. So probably our third linebacker, which, again, with the injuries, that's a role that plays a lot. And changing to a 4-3, our third linebacker will just naturally be on the field more. For a 5th-round pick this year and a 5th-round pick next season, we're jumping up from later in the 3rd round to 70th, up 17 spots. I have 2 players here ranked toward the top of the available board right now who are both really good receiving threats at tight end. Kind of hard to break the tie here between the two, but I think I have a little bit more solid info on Diego Ruiz. And that is going to be our next pick as we needed another tight end. Looks like I lost Harold Fannin. Maybe we sign him in preseason, or maybe we have another tight end that can join the team that is a great receiving threat, but has C run blocking and should be able to be used as an every down player if necessary. So the tight end 2 played a lot last season. Let's go get a young one on this team. Diego Ruiz, 71 in true value. Basically nailed it. Another former power forward. NFL-ready pass catcher. Normal development with him. He's got really good speed. Pretty good strength. I want to see how versatile he ends up being. Quarterback went here at the top of round 4. We're on the clock again. And we're going to make the move here to get guard Matt McConnell. I mean, at this point, he is an absolute steal of a pick in the 4th round. And we are paying a lot of money into our offensive line. And especially when we start having to pay a quarterback big money, my rule of thumb is usually having at least 2 offensive linemen on rookie contracts. And right now I have 1. McConnell might be a replacement for Elijah Vera Tucker. 12 in true value is pretty good. I would have been happy with like 27. Hidden dev guard. We have some incredible offensive line depth. And it's not the first time I've hit on one of these picks in terms of hidden dev. So if there's anything else we have to do, I do think I can trade for things that are missing. Callum Fitzsimmons just went. I'm curious if he has development upside, because I liked him. Manny Dobbs just went. I wanted him next, but I knew McConnell had the solid round 1 grade, and Dobbs is literally at our deepest position. So I think San Francisco got a steal. We're going to double up on corner in this class. We definitely need to add multiple players. So Quincy Boston will be our next pick out of LSU. We're getting a good height, weight, speed athlete. And he has man cover ability, B tackling, return skill for what that's worth. So our second cornerback, as we are investing heavily in defense. We've given out some big contracts on that side of the ball. So this helps make it all work into the future. 53 in true talent. We had a solid 2 to 3 grade on him. Knew it would be a good value, but just normal dev. Here in the 5th round, it is time for us to take a running back. Lance Foster, out of the running backs available, had the fastest 40 time at the combine and then ran even faster at his pro day. So this is kind of a redo on the Nick Johnson experience. Another big, fast running back with good vision. And he's going to be probably our new RB3. So welcome Lance Foster. He's excited to join the Steelers. He is 109 in true value. He was ranked, I think, 174, so that's really good. Normal dev. I do worry about the change of direction, but the north-south power-speed combo remains something I have to keep chasing. In the 6th round, we're drafting a receiver. This is Ethan Peralta. He was one of the last players that was on my board. I just sorted by best 3-cone, and he was it. 40 time was pretty good. He's a slot receiver with kick return upside, so think like Alejandro Gonzalez. We're doing that again. Gonzalez just hit free agency, 38th in true value. Okay, that sounds pretty good. Normal dev again. So I'm not sure in this series I've ever gotten better just pick value at most of these spots. I think he was undrafted, projected undrafted or something. Our final pick is going to be a kicker in Nathan McKee. Good kick power, A kick accuracy, and this would guarantee us a cheap kicker when the really good ones can be $5 to $7 million a season. So I'm trying to, find ways to save money on this team. Whether it's, keeping Marquis McLeod and he plays well and we bring him back. I'm prepared for that future. Or if we have to spend big for a different quarterback, I'm prepared for that. So McKee made 97.8% of kicks in college. That's what I like to hear. Hidden development kicker. 92 kick power. Man, a hidden dev kicker on a 4-year contract. I think that was a pretty good class. I didn't have a single pick that was way off value in the wrong direction. 77 Calvin Hitchens is how we began. We get a 74 edge, 72 linebacker, 71 tight end, and then a 76 Matt McConnell at guard, 72 Quincy Boston. My lowest overall picks were at 69 overall, and then my 6th round receiver had 77. So that feels like an outstanding draft. One where we picked early in every round. Did I make the most of having the number 2 pick, though? I think you could debate I could have done better. I could have had, information that pointed me towards the top 5 players. I just didn't have that. I got, the 8th guy, they said. There's a tie. But I didn't have grades on anybody else. Deshaun Drake. Yeah, I knew he would be pretty good based on the profile. He was projected to go in the 20s, and he is the top-rated player. Outstanding safety, man. Hits, 89 hit power. Really checks all the boxes there. I think if Mac Ridgway were available at 2, I would have just taken him and figured everything else out. But when the mock flipped, I knew I had prepare for a different outcome. 84 finesse moves, 89 acceleration. I will say at the very least, I do prefer developing power rushers. But obviously a top 5 talent is a top 5 talent. The Giants had traded up to take Madison Bonham at 76 overall in normal development. We could have taken the edge rusher out of Pitt. We were not doing the Kenny Pickett thing at edge rusher, though. We'll see if he works out for the Giants. Then you've got Isaiah Faulkner, who ends up with normal dev. So, I mean, this edge class looked really good initially. I don't like this pick that much, considering it's another finesse rusher with limited power, limited run stopping, not that strong, and even then just 79 speed. My thought was that Victor Miranda would probably have top 5 talent, and it looks like he's the best receiver going to San Francisco. Here's your Brandon Ayuk replacement. Not bad. Niles Cone would have been an option. Arkansas pass rusher. Sorry, that's a deal breaker. I'm only drafting players from Arkansas State. If that's where they came from, I have to draft from the better team. 87 finesse move, 83 speed. Good athlete. Maybe if he had transferred to the Red Wolves, though, he could have become the number 1 pick. And then Jay Reed. In the back of my head, I was like, could he be a top 5 talent? He's like projected top 10. But man, 73 normal at tackle with limited strength. That's actually a pretty brutal pick. He still might be decent, and at least he has a good pass blocking floor. That's more of a day 2 tackle to me than day 1. So in the first round, the best you could have done is an 80, and the Bills, man, 61. I have never seen this many 60 rated players in the first round of one of these drafts in Madden this year. Usually the floor is like 70 or 72. What did you do, Buffalo? You lose Josh Allen, spend your first pick on Jared Manley. He doesn't even have a strength as a player. He's a 61. I'm going to have a 61 on my practice squad. This is brutal. The defensive tackles stink. How are there 4 bad defensive tackles going here? I know I made that defensive tackle class weak in the draft class strength, but they still projected these guys early enough for a bunch to get taken there. Let me know in the comments what you guys have done for the class strength, because I made quarterback and D tackle weak. Before we get into the next year, I wanted to run some tests and just see, like, does weak really knock it down that much? I was willing to do it for sure this year because we just had a generational run of really good quarterback prospects and interior defensive lines, so I was cool knocking it down for at least a year. In round 2, the top-rated player taken was Joey Lewis at running back at the end of the second. I didn't get a lot of running back data this year, but Joey Lewis looks like a really good addition here for the Bengals. We're going to have to deal with him. A lot of good running backs went. Deron Edwards was on my board, but I'm happy with the direction we went here. We take an edge, and it was a huge need. One player I debated taking, though, was wide receiver Isaiah Blades, because I was trying to, in my head think, is he the best player available in comparison to Phelps? And Blades does have 2 lower overall, hidden dev. He's like a classic day 2 receiver, like a height, weight, speed guy that goes at the top. Think like when Brian Quick went to the Rams. That's always the example that comes to mind. 6'3", 235. He ran in the 4.3s. Acceleration was on the lower end. But there's probably enough there where you've got a good chance. Especially we're in the number 84 in Minnesota. I think that he could maybe figure it out. In the third round, man, the tight end who went at the top, Nick Castillo. 6 overall better than the tight end we took just 5 picks later. Castillo. Is there any relation to Donnie Castillo? We'll have to verify that. 77 vertical threat. But on the smaller side, we're talking like bottom 5 percentile in tight end size at 6'2", 236. But 89 speed, 86 catching, 61 run block. I took a linebacker right before the Giants did and got a higher rated player, so that's a positive. I took Ruiz over Marco Diaz, and that looks to be the right pick. He was only a 68 vertical threat. Yeah, sometimes you look at the draft profiles for these vertical threats and you fall in love with it, and then you get the player, and you're like, man, I was off. And I think there I just got lucky. I picked, I think, the better player. Just realized, too, I didn't even show you all the ratings on our guys, and I'm showing you ratings on everybody else. We're just working backwards today. Let's go to the 4th round, where the top player taken was our pick in Matt McConnell. Manny Dobbs was number 2. Not too surprised about that. Probably could have traded up. Hidden dev nose tackle. 75 power, 71 block shed. Really good piece there for the defense in San Francisco. Callum Fitzsimmons at 65 with normal dev. Probably not this intriguing, developing starting quarterback, but I suppose he's got a lot of similarities in his game to Amaya, who we selected last year. In the 5th round, Tremaine Dyson, a 71 overall receiver, was the best player taken. I did have Jimmy Davenport on my board. He was a 3rd to 4th round talent. A bunch of running backs went here, and we drafted before a few of them. Maybe we could have gotten a little bit better overall, but I think you're just kind of splitting hairs at that point. Even higher rated players went in the 6th round. Eddie Beltran was on my board along with Ethan Peralta, so I was on the right track there. Beltran has 95 acceleration. Could have maybe done a little bit better in a few categories, but Beltran had gone first. I had debated taking Antonio Beekman, but chose the other cornerback instead, so he ends up on the Chiefs. And in the 7th round, a 75 overall guard. The undrafted linemen in this class were so good. This was a great year to build some depth or maybe find a starter, a future starter like I think we did. Quarterback-wise, it was an extremely underwhelming class. There was nobody above a 68. Casey Cody was the best quarterback this year, going to Cleveland. He does have hidden development. That's why teams are tempted to keep taking him. You never know. But with our class here is what we get with all our skill sets. Calvin Hitchens is a man-to-man archetype, but the others are not far behind. He's good at just about everything. Hopefully he stays on the field and becomes that great cornerback that we've been looking for. With Josh Phelps, a little bit older rookie, but in this case, if you think of a 23-year-old prospect as a potential starter, you want them playing as early as possible. So he's going to need some development, but at least the starting point is intriguing. 79 injury on Phelps, and then on Calvin Hitchens. Give me the 80s, please. He's got 81. Which, I think is the same as Chris Leonard, but I think linebacker in general is just a more injury-prone position considering all of the tackles and hits they're going to make. Eric Goodman, teammates with Hitchens in college, both 23 years old, both went to Michigan. Goodman, ready to step on the field immediately. Very fast, good in the run game. And I think we can develop him into more of a 3-down player, but he doesn't have to be right away unless Leonard gets hurt again. Is Diego Ruiz a tight end 2 right now? 84 speed, 78 catching, probably not a proficient enough blocker. Might be best spent as a tight end 3 for a year. So I still want Harold Fannin back if he's available. Matt McConnell. I think we allow Elijah Vera Tucker to walk. I think his contract's up at the end of this year, and we develop McConnell in the meantime to take his spot next season. Very good power at guard, and I think he's got a really good ceiling. Another Wisconsin offensive lineman. How do you let a Wisconsin guard that good fall down the board? Quincy Boston now, 6'2", 187. Man cover specialist. We'll start developing him as a CB 4 or 5. Lance Foster at running back. Power back archetype, 91 speed. Gotta be pretty similar to what Nick Johnson's ratings were. Ethan Peralta. Really solid slot route running here. Been looking for a good slot backup. And maybe he's got a high enough starting overall to where he actually has starting upside. Good speed and acceleration. Will probably have a chance to return kicks. He is injury prone, like many players we took. And finally, the hidden dev kicker, Nathan McKee. And he has 92 kick power, 80 kick accuracy. He might not be the best kicker as a rookie. He's ranked the 43rd kicker, but we're hoping to bring him along and develop him into a good long-term solution. That was our draft. That was our off-season. What do you think? I'm sure that there's going to be a good deal of people who wanted to see McLeod moved, and so that's going to be disappointing. I just didn't feel comfortable about door number 2 or 3. So I think I allowed somebody to get Josh Allen on a ridiculous deal. And that team is the Tennessee Titans. All right. I mean, it's just teams who have quarterbacks that keep signing him. There's not really much I can do if they just keep doing that. I've just never been in this situation before where we're trying to trade away a quarterback who, on paper, top 10 quarterback, we just haven't been able to win with him. I'm hoping that just the ability thing removes a lot of the negatives and we get the good version of Marquis McLeod more often. I know, like, this feels like we're falling into, like, having to play this mid-tier quarterback. But McLeod is a high-tier quarterback who's just played mid-tier for much of his career. We're signing veteran punter Michael Dixon to a 1-year deal. We are going to sign cornerback Max Melton, who has really good man coverage and might be asked to play the slot here this season, to a 1-year deal. And we're going to make a signing of Jalen Phillips. So we don't need our rookie to necessarily replace TJ Watt on his own. Phillips is by far the most versatile player available and just really checks all those boxes. And we're going to sign him to a $5 million contract. The Seahawks signed Harold Fannin. That's not fair. And in that case, we are going to sign Michael Mayer, who has similar speed, decent route running and hands, and 67 run blocking. What? 81 rookie? Why is he available? Undrafted 81 overall running back? I have never seen that. I remember seeing his name last night when I was going through the board. Evan Lynch. I have never come across an 81 overall undrafted player. 90 speed, 93 break tackle. That is unbelievable. Everybody missed. He is 12 overall higher than the running back I actually drafted. Well, I know he's making the team, so as I do for the undrafted players, I give them 3-year contracts. I take a look at the other teams too, and I give their undrafted rookies 3-year contracts when it's confirmed they've made the team. Holy cow. Undrafted rookie quarterback here, Stephen Gilliard, has star dev. I mean, that wouldn't hurt to at least have on the practice squad. Bring him in. Star dev, undrafted rookie Derek Morgan from Alabama. This is the best undrafted class I've ever seen. 3.65 million. But we basically just got a top 5 talent for free. We didn't have to spend a pick. Now I'm wishing we did spend a pick. Evan Lynch is going to push for Felix Morant's power back spot. That's one of the most amazing things I've seen here. Best break tackle on the team. You know what we got to do next, right? We begin the process of developing the undrafted Evan Lynch. Oh, he's got moves too? And not to mention, as we sim into the preseason, the CPU gets the first option to sign anybody in free agency. So we're hoping to see a lot of the young players on this team continue to take a step. Hoping to see this run game remain one of the best in the NFL. I mean, the way things are set up here, there is nothing more I can really do for Marquis McLeod. I've tried just about everything. I've already given up on him, as a matter of fact. But I do think he gives us the best chance at success this season. I didn't think we'd be here, honestly. I just simmed through the very first preseason game, and we have 2 new injuries. Josh Phelps and Ethan Peralta, 2 rookies, are now done till the regular season. Why do we have 2 more injuries after the second game? That's 3! You lied to me! Derek Harmon, foot fracture. These aren't major injuries, but why are 3 of our rookies already hurt to start the year? We're having a lot worse injury luck than the rest of the league, basically. So let's get a preview then of this offense as we play the final preseason game. And Marquis McLeod, he's got Joey Riddick. It looks like that connection is back in play here in the 7th season of the Pittsburgh Steelers franchise. And now a run with Mickens, who's become the engine of this offense with his 1,100-yard season. And now we're going to check into the game. It looks like this is Evan Lynch. And welcome to the league there, rookie. Overpowered. McLeod on 3rd down, steps up and fires over the middle. Here's a move made to the outside by Nick Martinez. I'll adjust numbers and everything ahead of week 1. But just wanted the preview here. You know, if I'm keeping Marquis McLeod on this team, I had to show you some preseason gameplay before we move on. Mickens to the right gets 4. Here's the run. Lynch cuts inside. He's trying to shake free to the 9. McLeod throws and hooks up inside the 5 with Nick Watson. Put this in the end zone then. McLeod trying to beat man coverage. And there's a catch for Justin Guerrero. Touchdown, Pittsburgh. Next drive, McLeod off the fake. Dumps it to Mickens, getting 8 on this catch. Now back to pass. McLeod steps up, throws on the move, hooks up with Lynch. Lynch inside the 10. 3rd and goal from the 8. McLeod moving through the pocket and gets drilled. But it's good to see him like moving up and keeping his eyes downfield in a more, you know, natural way where he's not just standing around waiting to get sacked. So the Steelers end up going 2-0-1 on the season. We tied. So we saw some good drives there from the offense, and hopefully, man, we can break through this year. Because I don't know what I'm going to do if this team is bad again. McLeod did get picked twice in this game when we were super simming, but as far as what we could watch, really didn't make a bad play. So we're going to have a few players out to start the season. We're not in week 1 yet, so these lengths will go down even more when we sim ahead. But 3 members of our rookie class are hurt for at least the time being, and then Derek Harmon. McLeod's numbers in the preseason were pretty good. Justin Amaro played as the QB2, and his numbers are in a pretty decent spot. Evan Lynch, 3.3 yards a carry. We weren't all that efficient running the ball here this time. And then Nick Martinez, 12 catches. He's the new receiver. Hoping to see a leap from Justin Guerrero, who had 4 touchdowns. And another good preseason for Nick Watson, who has 115 or 114 receiving yards. 4 interceptions, 1 to Hitchens. We had Leonard get 1. Just a handful of sacks recorded. A lot of these are not even from edge rushers. So after all of that, what do you think about this team going into the new season? I mean, there aren't a lot of holes on this roster. We've had, seasons where we've been better at receiver or better in a certain position group, but this is a really solid roster. And hopefully we can unlock Marquis McLeod this year, because it's time for this team to make a return to the postseason. I think the secondary is an early concern, with Anderson still starting at safety, and then do we have enough at cornerback? I think once we get Hitchens back, we can start developing him and hopefully be in good shape this year. But this team, man, has just been tough to get over that hump, and hopefully this is the season it comes together. I'll see you all next time when we kick off Year 7 in the Pittsburgh Steelers franchise. Subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.